Well, hello you bearded bastards, and welcome back once again to Dwarf Fortress. And today we're going to be taking yet another look at the most recent release of Dwarf Fortress, what is dubbed the Villains release, version 0.47.01. In the last episode we did kind of a general overview, saw a bunch of the new features, mostly pertaining to necromancers, but this time I want to have a look at some more specific things. And today it's not going to be a very serious episode at all, just kind of bumbling around, seeing what we can see. Should be a pretty fun time. Now, as you can see here, we have a couple of adventurers, a pair of humans. Now, first off, I don't know how I feel about getting too close to these two, just because, well, I'm feeling kind of careless. And if we do get attached and they die, it'll be very depressing, but whatever. Allow me to introduce Geb Kamlaseru, or Couple Bottles. She's a curious young woman, off on a little adventure here with her friend, Shay Stastriembo, or Fancy Toned. A fairly dutiful fellow who enjoys living a slow-paced life, and he's also a worshipper of Allah Savior Light, the Hot Brilliances, the human goddess of fire, the sun, and day. Alongside these two, Geb has her pet horse, Someg, and Chase has his pet grizzly bear named Asina. Quite a motley crew it is. Now, one of the first things I really wanted to do was check out a monastery, because in monasteries can be found these statues with altars in front of them, and upon these altars we can roll some dice in order to divine the will of the gods. And this seems like a very interesting feature to me. There's a lot to it, and I don't think it's been fully explored yet, and I don't think it's going to be fully explored by the end of this video, but I really just want to see what is possible. I haven't really played around with it that much yet, and I think it'd be pretty cool to see what kind of effects we can get out of it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just bear with me. Our first target is just to our west, a monastery known as Copper Juggler. We'll be approaching in just a moment. Okay, it looks like we're here, and just gonna take a little look around first, see what's going on around here. Ah, okay. Here's one of those altars, but it doesn't look like there's anything on the actual altar. None of those divination dice, that is. Actually, I did start out with my own dice, but I'm not sure if they count as divination dice, or if they're just like normal game dice or something. But that's what we're here to do, so let's try it out. Just gonna step up to the altar, and I'll roll my Masterwork Obsidian Icosahedral die. And I did. Nothing happened. Okay, well, it looks like we do have to use the special dice found at these altars. Not just any old things, apparently. I kind of figured, but it didn't hurt to try. Continuing on. Yeah, I found another altar here, but no die. That's a pain. We're gonna have to keep looking around till we can actually find some die at one of these altars. I'm not too sure how common it is. Huh, okay. There was another altar here at this monastery, and at this one there is an 8-sided die. Let's give it a try. Oh my goodness. Okay, I rolled the die, divining the will of Iral Owl Sneak, the rumored contest, according to the practice of the sect of flyers. And the orthoclase octahedral die came up with a word, but apparently I cannot read. I could have sworn I could. In any event, it looks like we've been cursed with a week's bad luck. That's not excellent, I don't think. I'm not too sure what that does exactly, but, yeah, not stupendous. You know what? I'll bet that if I take a step back here, we can walk on over with Chase, grab that die, and give it a spin with him as well. I don't think you could do it more than once with somebody. Or rather, I think there's a cooldown or something like that. You gotta wait a day, maybe. Anyways, rolling. And the word comes up, lost. Beware those that lack passion. Noted. So at least Chase can read. Gonna pick up this die. Well, it looks like we've rolled the die, and Geb was cursed with bad luck, while Chase got some pretty cryptic words. Not too sure what that all means. Probably nothing. But I think he'll keep his eyes open for those who lack passion now, whoever those might be. Moving on. Now, realistically, I guess the next best thing we could do is just to wait around and see what the cooldown is exactly on rolling these dice. I'm not too sure how often we could do it. I know if we do it more than once, it starts warning us. And you know what? I guess I don't really know what that does either. Well, whatever. For now, we're heading to that next monastery, which is just to the north, Baldness League. We should arrive in no time at all. Pretty arid area. This place seems empty as well. I'm not seeing anybody anyways. Kind of makes sense. I think we're deep in goblin territory now, and I'm not too sure if this land is just kind of conquered by the goblins or what. It's probably pretty dangerous out here. Another altar. Approaching. Assuming this altar is for a different god, I would think we could still use it to divine our fate. Let's give it a try. Huh, okay. I don't know what the word says, but it says we already know the will of Ilral Owl Sneak, the rumored contest. Do not tempt fate. Fair enough. So that would lead me to believe that this monastery is built to honor this Ilral Owlsneak, the rumored contest character. I would assume anyways, because Geb here does not worship any gods. So it's not like I'm divining the will of my own god, you know? We've already tempted our fates, and there's something else I would like to try here while we're at it. I'm gonna roll these dice again. Ah, oh no. Hubris? What does that mean? Oh goodness! You have been cursed to assume the form of a lizard-like monster every full moon. That's not good at all. Oh no. Okay, so that's something that could happen. If you roll those dice too much, just gonna shake it off, not gonna let Chase know what happened. I'm fine, don't worry about it, Chase. Anyways, don't roll these dice, we're gonna wait a little while, okay? Right, now, we're back on the trail once again, following this river here to the east. I think we're gonna try to get away from the Goblin lands. We're on a mission to explore monasteries and the art of divination, and it'd be pretty nice if we had some religious figures to speak with. Have yet to see a single one. Also, both those monasteries so far were built for Ilral Owlsneak, the rumored contest, who, strangely enough, is the goddess of games and stars. Something I had to figure out through Legends mode. Geb certainly didn't know anything about her, and Chase only knows anything about Allah Savior Light, his own goddess. Well, let's hold up a second here. What is this? Looks like we have a random black bronze statue sitting out here at this nothing, it's just by this brook. Very curious. Why would that be? It's a black bronze statue of Azstrog Wraithstopped, who is screaming. This artwork relates to the moment when Fenglel hated Vice, cursed the goblin Azstrog to assume the form of an armadillo-like creature every full moon. It's strange that we'd come across a statue like that out here. Ominous, even. Yes, very, very ominous, actually. Alright, and I know we're not supposed to get attached to these characters, but I imagine Chase knows something is up. I don't think there was any real outward indication that Geb was cursed when she rolled that last die, but she must have reacted somehow, right? She knows something's up. But does she know what's up exactly? Who could say? Whatever the case, Chase is a little suspicious. Oh, and isn't that curious? Just up here to the north, another statue. And this one's of Allah Savior Bright, Chase's goddess. Okay, I know we're supposed to be looking into divination here, but isn't it strange that we came across that statue of a goblin turning into a were-armadillo? And right over here there's a statue of Chase's goddess. And this is after he got that divination saying he should be wary of those who lack passion. I'll tell you, things seem to move in mysterious ways sometimes. Very interesting. I suppose we should hit that trail once more. So our next target is just down to the south, a monastery known as Tramplematch, that was built by a group called the Bold Doctrine, so they can have a place to worship their god, Gulsheb Spittle Roasted, the human god of courage, nightmares, dreams, and the night. Once again, I found this out through Legends mode. I don't think there's an easy way to see it through Adventure mode here, but no matter. We're gonna spend a couple days in town here just to rest up a bit, maybe find some food somewhere, and then we'll head over to the monastery. We're in no big rush, really. These two are just taking their time having a nice little trip. And you know what? I think it'd be nice if they spent some time together. Geb's been trying her best to get Chase to come around, by telling him jokes mostly, but he has no patience for that. Not to say he doesn't talk. He actually talks quite a bit, to his bear, which is kind of funny. I'm sure they'll get to know each other before long, though, and soon they'll be thick as thieves. Okay, it's been a couple days now, and we are heading north. We did check out that one monastery that we were on our way to, but there really wasn't that much there, no altars or dice anyways, no holy leaders or anything either, but we did find some people there. It was kind of strange, and led to a incident. There was a bunkhouse, and inside was a peasant and several children, which seemed fairly suspect. They seemed fine for the most part, the children seemed happy. Chase wanted to leave it alone, but Geb started interrogating the man, and she got a little fired up, ended up punching the guy in the face because he wouldn't tell her who his leader was, and then there was just a giant brawl. The children started throwing punches, beat up Geb pretty badly, broke her foot. She wasn't able to walk for a day, but she's up now. This one kid knocked out most of Chase's teeth. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they could handle themselves if they were in trouble. I don't think they were in trouble though. Anyways, we're heading northward now to a monastery, believe it or not. One named Cuddle Skull. I had a little look through Legends mode to see if I could find a monastery that worships Allah Savior Light, Chase's goddess. Because I figure if he throws some dice at one of those places, because he's been doing a lot of praying these past few days and he's now an ardent worshiper of her, so I want to see if it made a difference if he went to one of her monasteries and did a divination to her. Specifically. You know, I would think that has to make a difference, right? I guess we'll see soon enough. Shouldn't take too long. And indeed it did not. It is raining now, but we did arrive at Cuddle Skull, and at this particular monastery there are a number of altars, and quite a few dice as well. Now let's get to rolling. What do you say? I imagine Geb will go first, fairly eager to try her hand. We have here a Galena octahedral die that we will pick up and roll. You roll Divining the Will of Allah Savior Light, the hot brilliances according to the practice of the Bejeweled Creed. The die lands on a 4-pointed star, and we receive the message, your fate is sealed. That doesn't sound good at all. I have to imagine that's because she's cursed, but I'm not too sure. And you know, while we're speaking of uncertainties, I guess we still don't know the actual cooldown on these things, huh? It hasn't been a week yet, I know that much. Maybe 3 or 4 days. It's probably a 24-hour cooldown. I think we'll stay here and test it a little bit. Anyways, Chase's turn. It looks like we have a picture of a wave, and the message, make the decision quickly. Wow, is that ominous, huh? I don't like that. He's getting some dire warnings from the gods here, that's for sure. Well, I bet he's not 100% sure what to make of that, but it'll be a little something to think about. Now it's currently the 18th of Granite, 2:14, and I'm going to find somewhere where we can take a rest and maybe try this again tomorrow. I really would like to know how often we can roll these dice. Well, alright, looks like we found a little bunkhouse here, and there are some people inside, peasants, mostly, but there's also a bard as well as a couple of prophets. Very interesting. I imagine this will be a prime place to stay, as we test our fates with the gods. And while we're here, maybe Chase will ask these prophets some questions, just to see if I can get any useful information. Okay, and we are back after an enlightening couple of days. Well, to start off, we did spend the night at that monastery, and as I had said, I was really thinking we could roll those dice again, but it turns out we cannot. Seemingly Geb cannot roll those dice anymore, period, because of that whole curse thing there. But Chase cannot either, and in fact it seems like you can only divine the will of a certain god only one time. I spent a few days at that monastery trying to roll again with Chase, and he only received an ominous message every single time, saying that he already knows the will of Allah Savior Light. So, that kind of stinks. But you know, whatever. There are a bunch of other monasteries in the area, so we checked those out, while being very, very careful. It turns out the area was not infested by goblins, but instead, undead. And there were quite a few of them moving around the area. We got pretty lucky avoiding them, I think. Anyways, we eventually found another monastery, and made another upsetting discovery. A lot of the other monasteries are founded by different races. Like we had gone to this one monastery called Oiled Palace, and the religion that founded the place is the Doctrine of Strikes, which is a dwarven religion that worships Gulsheb Spittle Roasted, which is a human god. I thought that was pretty cool. Goblins too. Apparently they have religions worshipping our gods as well. But the upsetting part of all that is that at those monasteries, there were no dice, no altars, no nothing. So apparently only humans practice divination, which really kind of screwed us up. We went way the hell out of our way to visit a couple of monasteries, but there was no way to divine anything. But I think that changes now. We're arriving at Cookshowers, a monastery built to the human god of dusk. And here we are. Wonderful. Right off the bat, we have ourselves some dye on an altar. No sense waiting around, right? Let's see what Gulsheb has to say. You roll, divining the will of the Dreamy Seer according to the practice of the Sable Faith. The pitch-blend 4-sided long die comes up a shining sun. Have faith, and all shall be rejuvenated. Doesn't tell me a damn thing. Iral Owlsneak, the first god that we rolled for, told Chase to beware those that lack passion. Allah, his own god, told him to act quickly, and Gulsheb here says to have faith and all shall be rejuvenated. Very cryptic. And while we're at it, we're going to give one more try with Geb just for the hell of it. No, indeed, it seems her fate is still sealed. No matter how many times she rolls. I can't imagine she's very happy with this. A little stressed, I would say. Couldn't blame her at all. But I suppose that's what happens. Hubris and all. Well, it looks like we're continuing on now. I'm not sure how many more monasteries we have to check out, but I do think our civilization has quite a few gods, so there could potentially be quite a few more. Should be easier to travel now anyways. We're away from the undead lands, and the nights have been nice and bright. Just a couple nights left till the moon is completely full, actually. Here, I'll tell you what. Before we hit the trail, we should take a look at the map, just to try to figure out where we're going next. Makes sense, right? You can see these grayish rings here. These are the monasteries. And there are quite a few just around us, actually. Especially down to the south. Just a moment. Okay, some time has passed here, and I've been looking through Legends mode to try to figure out what the deal is with each of these monasteries. Because remember, we can only get a divination from a single god one time from what I've seen anyways. And all these monasteries around here, every single last one, well, most of them anyways, worship Gulsheb. That one we just got a divination from. Like, all of these are Gulsheb monasteries. There are a couple built to worship Allah, but like only a couple, maybe a third of them. The next closest monastery that I've found that worships a different god is this one over here, way the hell over to the west, Frey's Nose, where they worship Thabi, the human goddess of generosity and sacrifice. And yeah, that's quite a ways away, actually. A couple days travel at least. Well, guess we better hit that trail once again. Okay, we have finally made it. We are now at Frey's Nose. The journey didn't end up taking too long, thankfully, but that was only because we traveled all through the night, and it took 2 full days to get here. It was pretty grueling, to say the absolute least. Now, there wasn't really much to note about the travel, except for the fact that we had to travel over some mountains, and that actually made things take much longer than it should have. We also did encounter a small hamlet after we crossed the mountains, and at the hamlet we found a shrine, so apparently they can pop up in towns as well. There were no dice there, but Chase had some in his pack from one of those previous monasteries. Apparently we stole some, and we could use those dice at the shrine, though it was a shrine of Iral Owlsneaks, who we had already gotten a divination from. So yeah, gonna have to note that. Shrines can be in towns as well. Anyways, yes, we're here now at the altar, and at this particular altar there is a 20-sided die, icosahedral. And from what I understand, these might actually give us a better chance at getting a good reward from the gods. And that's what we're looking for here too, by the way. Some sort of a boon. I don't know what's possible. All we've gotten so far is cryptic messages, and I want something tangible, you know? Alright, let's do it up. See what happens. I threw my other dice behind me. I don't really need them anymore. I'll just take this one. Alright, and here we go. Whoa. Oh boy. You roll, divining the will of Thabi according to the practice of the honest denomination. The Philae icosahedral die shows a crescent moon. You have been blessed with a pet. And there it is, right there. A giant wolf. Oh my god. Thabi. Best god. Better than my other god, that's for sure. I imagine they're both just shocked at this outcome. I certainly am. Geb jumps off her horse and begins chasing the wolf. Where the hell are you? Come here. Oh my goodness, would you look at that? You can ride the wolf. And yes, Geb has just snagged the thing and is riding it around a bit as Chase chases her around. Demands that she gets off, I imagine. Chase approaches his new pet. Wow, that is something, isn't it? So this is what I was hoping for. An actual reward from the gods. Man, oh man, I'm glad we finally got something. And like, just reading the description here, because we gotta remember this is Dwarf Fortress, and a giant wolf isn't as simple as a giant wolf, necessarily. And its description reads, it's a huge monster in the shape of a wolf, not just a giant wolf, although it does look similar still. A terrifying creature. And it can be ridden too. Super cool. Can I name this thing? I think I might be able to. Ah, yes, here we go. Just have to speak to the wolf to name it. And we get to choose any old name we want. And I think we'll go with Bestra. How do you like the sound of that? Yes, I do think she likes it. Good girl. As Geb runs over and starts rolling the dice frantically. Well, you know, that's what happens, Geb. You should have been a bit more patient. Alright, back up, sister. Give me that die. Because that's a lucky one. Scoop it up, throw it in my backpack, and let's hit that dusty old trail once again. Led by an irritated Geb. But you gotta wait up a second there, sister. Not too sure where the hell we're going yet. Well, actually, I think we're in luck. Just nearby, right over here to the west, we have 2 monasteries. The first one is to Ludo, the god of trade and wealth, and the other is to Lynn, goddess of healing. Neither of which have we received divinations from. Isn't that something? Well, I guess we'll have to head on over. We should actually make it there before the day's up. Okay, here we are at the first of the 2 altars at the monastery devoted to Ludo. Gonna take my 20-sided dice and we'll give it a spin. Oh, that's interesting. It says we rolled dividing the will of Thabi according to the practice of the honest denomination. Like at that previous monastery, though this monastery does not center around Thabi. It's a monastery of Ludo, so I'm thinking that it's more the dice than anything? This is a dice of Thabi, that's why I only get a reading from her, okay. That makes sense. Here I thought things were gonna be easy. Looks like we have to go find some other dice. Oh, thankfully. Okay, we found one. Looked around for a while. I did not think we were going to find any dice here, but we did. Okay. We'll get the die, a Galena cubic die, which is actually strange. I don't think we've seen one that's just a plain cube yet. And let's give it a spin. Please, Ludo, bless us. You roll Divining the Will of Ludo according to the practice of the West doctrines. The Galena cubic die lands on the word gold. Do not keep everything for yourself. What the hell does that mean? Back to the damn cryptic messages. I imagine Chase turns around and sees Geb eyeing the wolf. Hopeful. I mean, it's probably unwise to not listen to the gods, right? But I can't really imagine Chase giving up Bestra so easily at this point. Get out of here, Geb. You ruined your own damn luck. Come on, let's get out of here. If we get something good from the next monastery, you can have it, okay? And we have arrived at the Monastery of Lynn, where we have yet another die to roll. And yes, Geb, if we do get something nice, I will pass it along to you. This time we have a microcline 8-sided long die. You know, I'm starting to wonder if each religion has their own type of die that they use. Like, if the religion that built this monastery here only uses 8-sided long die. Might be the case. Anyways, let's do this. Lynn, be generous, please. You roll. Divining the Will of Lynn Good Trusted, the Hopeful, according to the practice of the Dignified Coven. The microcline 8-sided long die lands on the word meadow. It is time to leave it behind. Yet another cryptic phrase. What the hell does that all mean? Time to ruminate, I think. There are actually no more monasteries around here for quite a ways. There are some more far to the north, but they are much farther away than these ones were from our original location. It'd take days, at least. And we've been traveling for a while now. What was the date when we started? The 16th? I believe it's the 23rd now? Yeah, that's quite a journey just to roll some dice at some temples, although I suppose it was worth it. We did learn a lot. And Chase was gifted this fine wolf, Bestra. Can't forget that, certainly not. Yeah, you know what? I think we should find ourselves a little place to rest. Might as well. And after we're all rested up, we'll figure out what we're doing next. It didn't take long for the pair to find themselves at a foreboding sandstone castle out in the middle of the wilderness. And a sight for sore eyes it was. They entered quickly, and found the inhabitants to be a friendly sort. Accommodating, welcoming even. This would be a fine place to take a rest, for sure. The two hadn't seen any proper civilization in days, and so this is just what they needed. The first night was spent at the bottom of one of the old watchtowers. It was a rough night to be sure, but still much better than many of those spent out on the road. It was time now to think about what they learned on their trip, the messages that they received from the gods. Geb, being impatient, really ruined her luck straight from the beginning, and has since seemingly been refused by the gods. But Chase has received a number of messages from the deities. He was told by Irel Owlsneak to beware those that lack passion. At first he thought it could have been Geb, but she's one of the most enthusiastic people he knows. No, it couldn't be her. After that, he was told by his own god, Allah Saviorlight, to make the decision quickly. What decision was there to make? The next stop for their journey? They were pretty quick to decide. And in fact, our next stop was the Monastery of the Dreamy Seer, where he was told to have faith and all shall be rejuvenated. Which, from their perspective, makes sense now. They had faith, clearly they were rolling dice, asking the gods for help, and here they're being rejuvenated, having a nice rest in this tower. After that, we rolled at the Monastery of Thabby, and Chase was gifted Bestra, a fine boon indeed, the best received on this journey, no doubt. But from there we divined the will of Luto, who told Chase to not keep everything for himself, which admittedly could have been referring to the wolf, but that's up for debate really. In any event, he did promise to give whatever he got at that next temple to his buddy Geb. That being said, he didn't receive very much at all. Divining the will of Lynn, he got the message, it is time to leave it behind. Which doesn't make any sense at all. Leave what behind? This mission? Well, I suppose so. There are no monasteries left in the area. The gods can sure be fickle. Although through this journey it has been proven that sometimes they do give us great rewards. That much is certain. And while the pair spent the night discussing the will of the gods, young Geb couldn't help but wonder why they refused to speak with her. A great worry was growing within her mind. And alongside that worry grew a devilish curse. Tomorrow, the moon would be full. Well, at this point, I'd say it's far too late for these two adventurers to be doing anything to change their fate. Their minds are seemingly made up about their divinations. But are they correct? Who's to say but the deities themselves? Now, I had continued playing just a little bit here, just to see how things would unfold exactly. Geb did turn into a were-lizard the following night, under the full moon. I was able to switch between her and Chase, for a little bit anyways, until she attacked him, and then I lost control of him entirely. And so I figured, what the hell, we're a were-lizard, might as well keep it up. Geb killed Someg, her horse, and then gave chase after Sina, the grizzly bear, who was wounded terribly. And at the end of it, Sina was not able to escape. But she did do a damn fine job at getting Geb the were-lizard away from Chase and Bestra. It was an extremely noble sacrifice on her part. Geb finished her off, and then headed towards a nearby village. Those poor unlucky bastards. Upon exiting adventure mode, I was able to re-enter it and resume play as Chase and the wolf, which was pretty interesting. I was glad to see you could do that. A nice little touch. Yes, it was quite an adventure, and Geb, Chase, and Bestra are still out in the world, and I'm hoping now they're a little bit wiser. Geb especially. Now, this divination system is very interesting, isn't it? I'm sure these messages are completely randomly generated, I can guarantee it. But just like real divinations, I guess you can kind of make a sense out of it. After it's all said and done, I had interpreted these messages, and I feel like I came up with something that makes sense. Hear me out, just a moment. Well, straight off the bat, Geb was cursed with bad luck. And she should have taken a hint there, because right afterwards, she was cursed to be a were-lizard. Apparently the gods just had it out for her. But now for Chase's messages, he was told to beware those that lack passion. And Geb, while energetic, doesn't seem particularly passionate about anything, right? She's not religious, unlike Chase, who is quite religious. So I'd say she lacks passion in a sense anyways. At the next altar, Chase was told to act quickly. I'd say that speaks for itself. They only had a couple days before the full moon, and so it was up to him to figure out what these divinations meant quickly, which he did not accomplish. At the third altar, he was told to have faith and all would be rejuvenated. I have a feeling that's talking about after this whole adventure here. He should continue to have faith, and all will get better in time. I'm sure he believes that. Now at the fourth altar, he was gifted Bestra, and I feel like that might have been a bit of a setup. He was given that wolf, and then at the next altar, he was told to not keep everything for himself. So I'm pretty sure he was intended to give that wolf to Geb. I think the gods were trying to save Chase. He ended up being fine anyways, but he lost Sina, his faithful traveling companion. Now the next altar is interesting because he had said that if he got anything good, he would give it to Geb. Something good could be a bit subjective, of course. I'm thinking the gods thought their next message was pretty good, and they told Chase it's time to leave it behind, which could have been a message for Geb if he had in fact gave it to her. And if she had the wolf at this point, she could just head off on her own. 100% satisfied with how everything came out. Until the full moon, that is. Yeah, divinations. Cryptic messages from the gods. Really kind of a shame we couldn't get some other effects. I've heard you can get artifact weapons and armor, also other kinds of pets, but I don't know what else. Yeah, it's a shame we couldn't get more, but we've seen where hubris can get you. I think I'm fairly satisfied with how things turned out. Anyways, my bearded bastards, I hope you had fun checking out divinations with me, and also seeing this little story that came out of it, and I certainly hope to see you next time. Until then, my bearded bastards.